Everyone, welcome back. So now we're entering week 5 of Voyage 14. And as a recap, this is a Discover 1 and the amount is for $4,182 and the goal is to have that paid off by November 13th. And then joining us is 5 starfish for week number 5. So how's everyone doing today? I know it's going to be Halloween next week, which seems pretty crazy that October is almost done. But I think I'm just going to be handing out candy this year and maybe watching a spooky movie or something like that. So what plans do you have for Halloween? And then we will jump into what's going on with the numbers. So we have the plan of the 7 weeks for the payoff. And once again, this week we did another $600. And then that brings us down to 1,182. And then we can go ahead and cross October 24th, that Friday, off. And then once again, it's due on November 13th. And we have Friday, October 31st and November 7th to also send funds to that to get that paid off by that November 13th deadline. And it looks like that should happen. So then we'll look into what happened with starting with the checking. We first had a payroll check of $1,136.90. We put the $136.90 into savings, giving us that even $1,000 I like to work with each week. And from that amount, we sent $30 to line of credit 1, $31.25 to line of credit 2, and $31.25 to line of credit 3, bringing us down to $907.50. We have that loan number 1, and I realized since there's going to be 2 more weeks to finish making that payment on there, we actually didn't need to do the full amount for the week. So I did go ahead and incorporate the $50 to loan 1. But what I did was I did $23.91 this week, and then I'll also do that final $23.91 next week, since it'll be the 31st, and then November 1 will be a whole new month where we'll start all over again for that monthly payment that's due. So then that $26.09, I just went ahead and sent that to savings, along with that normal $50 a week. And then we have $807.50 was left of the paycheck to send to that Discover set aside. And then what we did with the set aside account, we start off ending on the 17th with $42. So then on the 24th we added that $807.50. So then we had $849.50 for the balance. We then sent Discover 1 payment number 5 for $600. And that brought us down to $249.50. We did get some groceries on Citibank, and then we had gas and miscellaneous also on Citibank. So one was for $75, the other's for $61.89. So that was taken out of this account. And then we did another escrow payment to the savings for the $24.40. And then to even out the checking account, we sent $321 to savings, bringing Discover 1 set aside down to $85. And then the activity that happened in the savings account as of October 24th is we had that payroll for $136.90, that loan savings for $26.09, our regular $50 payment. We did have a roundup of $707, the escrow payment of $24.40, and then that $321 to even out that checking account. So then we end up savings as $1,764.30. And then we showed the loan number 1 on October 24th. We sent $23.91. From that amount, $885 went to interest, and then $1506 went to principal, leaving that balance now as $8,379.21. And then next week on October 31st, we'll do that final $23.91 to finish paying off that loan for the month of October, and then we'll start all over for November. And then once I get on the lines, we just did that minimal amount towards that. And I realize now I could have done some of the normal stuff I had been doing. I just wasn't thinking of what I need to do is do the weekly payment plus the other amount, but that's okay. We'll just go ahead and finish this voyage off this way. and then we will start fresh the next voyage. So we end up with the lines equaling $36,291.74. We currently have $708.26 available, and then we had sent $92.50, and then on November 1st we're going to have $356.98 due. And I did realize by doing it this way, I'm actually not able to use that $356.98 as cash flow, but like I said, I think I'm going to change it for the next time, and I probably will take some of the money from line of credit 3 for the mortgage payment. I might the next 2 weeks add for the mortgage, because I think all the bills for the month are pretty much paid, so we might have that ability to just do line of credit 3 like we typically would for the last 2 weeks. But we'll see how that works out. But anyway, we normally use line of credit 1 for bills. So when we sent the $30, there was $17.01 to interest and then $12.99 to principal. Currently available is $186.51. Oh, and also I realized what I also need to do is to make sure the balances are reducing. Just have how the month started off with the balance, and then make sure at the end of the month that the balance is less, and then that way I would honestly know for sure. So currently $118.65 is the monthly payment on that, and it's at 7.5. We then use line of credit 2 typically for the voyage funds, and that's monthly due at $123.94. It's at 6.74. We did send $31.25 for this week, and then that was $15.96 for interest, and then $15.29 for principal. So currently there's $166.55 available in that line. And then we go to that line of credit 3, which is normally set aside for mortgage. That has a monthly payment of $114.39 at 7.5. And then we also had done that $31.25 to that. So $17.49 went to interest, where $13.76 went to principal. So we currently have $355.20 available in this line. And then this is just our normal Voyage 1 through Voyage 13C for at $64,295 had been paid off by September 19th of 25. Then we go into that week 5 of the voyage, where last week we were at $1,782. After sending in that 600, we're down to $1,182. And then we add the 600 towards what's been paid off. So we have a total of $67,295. We then updated our credit available. The Visa has a limit of $10,000. Currently there's a balance of $9,870.98. Available now is $129.02. Citibank is at $18,000. The balance is at $5,765. Available is $12,235. Discover One is at $22,000. Currently has $4,822, and now available is $17,178. So with these 3 lines combined, we have $50,000 as the limit. We are using $20,457.98 of those balances. And now $29,542.02 is what's currently available in those 3 lines. Then for the monthly bills, we just did the Discover One payment for $600, what came out of that Discover One set aside. And then we did groceries and gas and miscellaneous to the Citibank. That also came out of that Discover One. We didn't have anything different with any of the loans. And then we did do another $20 towards the escrow shortage. And then right now we owe $187 to the savings. And then I'm also kind of tinkering with putting a little bit of interest in there to kind of buffer the savings too and add a little bit more to it. And if you made it this far into the video, The code word is going to be orange because we're getting close to Halloween, and I also have an orange marker that has an orange marker smell to it, so it's a fun marker to use. So orange is the code word. And also another addition I had thought about is I may start incorporating a weekly calendar that's going to be a lot easier to follow. And I was out shopping the other day and I had run into this, and normally I was making my own calendars, and so what I was thinking about is each week, is since we have the payrolls come in on Friday and then there's lines for when the bills are due, I thought this would be an easier way of tracking the expenses. And then there's also a spot on the side where you can make notes for the month. So, and I thought I would just make my own for November and December, and then January we'd go ahead and start using this one. So I make 2 homemade ones for those 2 months. And we'll use those to keep track of things, and plus it'll be easier to follow when everything's due in the Friday. Then we can plan from one Friday to the next Friday what's due each week. So let me know if you have any questions or comments. Please like and subscribe to follow my journey, and I'll talk to you in the next video. Thank you. Bye.